right. Hey, welcome to History Chats this afternoon. Yeah, we're going to get started in just a second here. Welcome to March and March MAPness here, where we take a look at different maps and the stories they can tell us. I think everything looks like it's working okay, so we're just going to jump right in, and I'm going to introduce Gary. He's going to do our first program.
Thank you, Ben. Well, welcome this afternoon. This is Map Month, so if you think you've seen maps throughout our past chats, well, you're going to see more maps. So this is a month of maps, and perhaps some of our more famous maps or favorite maps that we're gonna show. So we'll see. This is sort of a community based map history a little bit of Marathon County. So take a look. This is one of my favorite maps of Marathon County. It has a lot in it. Those squiggly lines, whether it be red or yellow or blue, are railroad lines. So that's part of our story today. But there's just a lot of other small little dots throughout Marathon County, and all those little dots usually have a name associated with it. And behind every one of those little dots and every one of those little names, there's a story. And that's sort of what we are trying to present to you today. So we'll see what this looks like. But anyways, this will be the standard map that we're going to be using a lot of today. So this is, like I said, one of my favorite maps. And this is one I usually go to for presentations about Marathon County history. So this is a more current map. This is a map of the eastern side of Marathon County coming off of our recent plat book. Pretty straightforward, but again, it gives you a little bit of a contrast between the 1912 railroad map that I just showed you and a current map of the county, especially the east side. So today we're going to come to the northeast side of Marathon County. I think last month I was a lot on the west side. So take a look, and this is 2021 map. Take a look and see what you see, because we're going to talk about some things that you see as well as things that you don't see on this map today. So again, we start here, and as I said before, we've talked a lot about a variety of different maps throughout our chats, even on non-March histories. We talk about Bevent, a map of Bevent. We went to Halder. We talked about Halder at one of our chats. So we know our maps. When we look at a map, we see a lot of different things in a lot of different places. So with all those maps, we in a way are creating an atlas of Marathon County history, an historic atlas, a variety of different cultural atlas, religious atlas. Just think of the themes that we've talked about. We've talked about ethnic. This is a page from that atlas that talks about the Swiss. An historical atlas. Europe, a variety of different maps that speak to the variety of different political aspects of European history. Well, Marathon County has that same type of thing. We've seen a lot of maps in our 3 years of history chats, and we're going to see more of them today. So like I said before, we're coming up to this northeastern part of Marathon County, hitting that little section, mostly the town of Hewitt, maybe a little bit of the town of Wausau, Texas, a variety of things in there. So take a look, see what you see. We'll be talking about some of those places this afternoon. But I just want to give you a little bit of an historical view. So adding to that atlas of Marathon County history, we start back here in 1881. Of course, the Wisconsin River, quite obvious. The Eau Claire River is coming in from the east. But what do you see along the Wisconsin River? Well, you see a little community called Trap, with a post office. You see Wausau a little bit to the south. So we'll see this again, but this is 1881 Marathon County. And then we go shooting ahead to 1930, Marathon County starting to change a little bit. You'll see a little community up in the town of Hewitt. You'll see things over in the town of Texas along the Wisconsin River. Things are starting to change. But then, with the same year of maps, we look at the same part of northeastern Marathon County, and it looks different, doesn't it? So we're seeing, which is sort of an underlying theme of today, some hidden communities that are not really on the map that the way they should be. Because if you come up from the city of Wausau along the Wisconsin River in 1930, you're seeing Brokaw, but you aren't, for instance, seeing Trap, which was on that earlier map. So different maps will be telling you and showing you different things, and some things are there and some things are hidden. This is a 1948 map, a little different view. Some things are starting to show up of little communities like Kalinke. You see Hogarty, you see Glandon, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Along the Wisconsin River, you see Granite Heights, you see Brokaw, and then of course a little bit to you see Wausau on the lower left. So communities are starting to show up that were not there earlier. But we're going to talk about one of those little communities that we just saw in the town of Hewitt, Glandon on County Highway G. So here's Glandon. It's up there, and the red line is, of course, a railroad coming up from. Coming down from Otis on the main line of the Milwaukee Road. A lumber line comes down through Glandon and down into Kalinke. So we're talking a little bit about Glandon. So Glandon was, in my view, one of the more interesting little communities in Marathon County. For instance, you can read that, I'm not going to read you the whole narrative here, but in 1909, they're describing already what's going on in Glandon, talking about Hiram Stewart, Charles Stewart, the founders of the Barker Stewart lumber mill in Wausau. So they were already starting to bring that railroad line down into Glandon to get the lumber out of that part of northeastern Marathon County. So it's a nice description of what Glandon was like in 1909. But, however, things have changed through the years. This is the sign now where Glandon was, up on Highway G, and the people in the town of Hewitt acknowledging historic Glandon 1907 to 1943. In case you want to go there someday, it's on County Road G and at the intersection of Pitt Road. And where the sign is, that's where Glandon was. So it's not there anymore. But it was quite a community at one time. Again, another plat book showing the rail line coming down from the north through Glandon, and the rail line coming further on past Kalinke, going further south. So a very important part of Marathon County here, but it was a little community. Cheese warming, the literary club of the Glandon School met Friday. So again, a great little community here at this crossroads. Of course, the this little picture describing the Glendon Pass boom before bust. Eventually, it did fold. It did become that acre that we saw on that prior picture. But at one time, it was quite a booming little community. This is one of the logging camps near Glendon. Barker Stewart, again, like I said before, had their sawmill camp there, and they were quite active in this part of the town of Hewitt. And here we see the rail lines coming in, and the loading of cars at this landing site near Glendon. This is sort of the main street of Glendon. The houses already pretty much a little community, describing the little community here in Main Street in Glendon. And then they also, of course, had a baseball team. This was a little article that I saw about Echo. I'll get to that in a few minutes. But again, Echo trims Glendon, the game of baseball. So a very active community, a lumber community going strong. And then now once bustling Granite Heights. Now I'm sorry about this. This was a mistake on my part with this slide. We are not yet talking about Granite Heights. We are still at Glendon. I should have caught that, my mistake. Again, this is that land where Glendon was on the corner of Pitt Road and Highway G. Now I can insert that little part about Granite Heights. Granite Heights, again, one of those little communities on the Wisconsin River, north of Brokaw, north of the city of Wausau. It's up there. It's at one time a very active community, quite active because of the granite that was being mined close by across the river, as well as close by up in the town of Texas. The rail lines coming through, going north from Wausau, and this is the little Granite Heights. Again, one of those little communities like Granite Heights that was there, and eventually the sign of the times that the Granite Heights post office was discontinued, and the beginning of the decline of this little community, describing she succeeds her father, the late Amos Efford, who served as postmaster from 1906 to 1940. Again, Anderson Brothers and Johnson, the Granite people were very active in Granite Heights, in the manufacture of monuments from the red granite that was on both the east and west sides of the Wisconsin River in the town of Texas, as well as over in the town of Maine. This is what Granite Heights was at one time, the depot there on your right, and this is Main Street, so to speak, on your left. This is basically how it looks today. We're looking south as you come in, but the community is still quite active. It's still there. The houses are there, lining the Wisconsin River on your right. So still on the Granite Heights, still on the map, still there, still a little community serving the people living in Granite Heights. I want to move a little bit to the south of Granite Heights and talk a little bit about Brokaw. Of course, we all know Brokaw. We know where Brokaw is, right? It's up the Wisconsin River from Wausau, taking Highway W or off on 51. It's not far from Wausau, being a big part of the city, big part of our economy, the big part of Marathon County for a long time, because it housed the Wausau paper mills. But it was quite an active community. The houses there, a lot of factory houses, a lot of activity, a post office, a branch library at one time, a variety of other services there that really did help the people living in this little village of Brokaw. The factory, again, like I said, closed several years ago. That sort of took the steam out of this little community, but it was very active from the beginning of the 1900s well into the I was going to say 1980s for sure. Very active factory going, paper mill in Marathon County. So, but when we look today, what do we see? We see Brokaw Park. So basically, the village of Brokaw cannot live within the village of Maine. So the village of Maine came over across the Wisconsin River, incorporated that part of Brokaw. So Brokaw itself is not a village anymore. It's part of the village of Maine, and that part of Marathon County really isn't there anymore. So a community that was quite active for 100 years sort of disappears from the maps, and who knows what the map of Marathon County will look like in 10 years, 20 years, and the history then of the history of Brokaw, including the paper mill and the people that live there, will sort of go away, because that, as you look on maps in 20 years from now, you're not going to be able to perceive that there was this community of Brokaw. I just want to come back and finish looking at this map. You can see that other communities are still in the map, but Brokaw is starting to fade hopefully won't fade from our historical memory, but it will certainly fade from our map history of Marathon County. I'm going to quickly go up a little bit up the Wisconsin River to someplace called Trap City. Trap City is one of those little communities that essence is still there. It was in a map of 1901, a sawmill city coming off of the Trap River. Not much is made of it. They had a post office. They had a boarding house, mostly serving the Callan Mill in Trap City. So this is one of those little. This is one of my more favorite little communities that have sort of disappeared, but yet their history is strong, especially in the town of Texas history, especially in the town of Marathon County, because it was a strong sawmill town coming off of the Trap River, and that city basically, like it was here in 1901, you're not seeing it on the maps today. For instance, this is a finer map of the 1901. You can see the houses. You can see the Callan Mill there. It was a very active little community there along the Wisconsin River. But I'm moving a little bit to the east of the Wisconsin River, a community that is not on a map, but one of those little crossroads, because when you look at a map, you think, well, what's going on? So I'm looking at this map, and I'm seeing perhaps a railroad coming through here, and it seems like it's kind of busy intersection here. Well, it is, because this is Echo Corners, the corner of Eau Claire River Road and Echo Road coming south from Highway 52. So it's a little crossroads. It's a little community, but it was more than a little crossroads that we see today, because it was the Albert Larson General Merchandise Store, a blacksmith, little community there, sitting on Echo Road. and across the street was the cheese house. So again, the maps don't always tell us what's going on in Marathon County at whatever given place you are at. Maps can tell us that communities are there, but they don't give a good sense of what the communities and what the history of Marathon County is telling us with regard to everything that's going on here in Marathon County. And with Echo Corners, it's more than just that little intersection, but they were reported in the newspaper at that time that a variety of the social things going on in this little corner of Marathon County. Little Norwegian, it was a little Norwegian settlement. That's why you can maybe see some of the Scandinavian names up in this part of Marathon County, the Gundersons, the Swensons, a little Norwegian settlement here in Marathon County. So again, coming back to this part of northeastern Marathon County, so what do we see on the map? Well, we see Glandon. Glandon's still on the map, but it's not there anymore. Really, it's some flat land marking historical Glandon, which is great, but we don't see Granite Heights. We don't, Trap City, of course, is not mentioned anymore. And Brokaw is starting to fade from the map scene. On 52, of course, we're seeing Hogarty, but a lot of communities, a lot of history that has been going on the last over 150 years, say, with regard to the history of Marathon County is hidden. The maps don't tell us everything. Sometimes for us who love maps and perhaps have seen every map there is, we get anxious about maps that don't show communities, that don't show our history. And we worry that things will start to fade. And some of the histories of Glandon, Brokaw, Granite Heights, Trap City, all those little communities that added so much to our history through the years, sawmills, granite pits, a variety of things like that, paper mills. Let's hope that type of thing doesn't fade. And that's why we have to constantly look at the maps, look at old maps to see what our life, our history, our culture, our religious life, our political life was really all about. So with that, maps are good. This is map month, and we're going to be talking more about those individual maps that show us a little bit about what Marathon County is all about as revealed through a variety of different maps. So with that, I'll turn it back to Ben.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, so as Gary said, next week we're going to continue with some more some maps, and we'll try to get through the rest of the month here. Actually, let's see if I remember which one. Here we go. This is the specific map that I'll be talking about next week. It's I don't want to give too much away at the moment, but basically this is a welcome map. Maps can exist for a lot of different formats and purposes. Gary has shown some of the sort of the plat maps and things like that, and trying to find where you're looking for it. But sometimes they can be a welcome, as is the case for this 1970s map from the First American National Bank, which has some really interesting stuff in it. More interesting history chats coming up over the course of the month. And I guess while I'm telling you about some stuff that's coming up, we also have a History Speaks. It's not, well, there might be a map or two in here. I haven't quite decided exactly how many maps I'm going to throw in there, but I'll be doing a part of our History Speaks lecture series, a talk about public transportation. which of course is very important about getting around communities and things like that. So that's coming up later in this month on March 25th. It's a Saturday at 2 p.m. But yeah, over the rest of the month here, every Thursday at 12:30, we'll talk more maps. Hope you join us for all of those. And with that, I think thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.